Hey, what is up, mortals? Guess who's back? NierVen here. Welcome to part 1 of season 1 of What If Deku Became Bane. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. And so, we begin. What changes a person? Is it their past, or does it all happen in the now? Is it a climactic event, or several small, barely noticeable coincidences happening in a particular order? So many ways could go. So what changes a person? Wouldn't you like to know? It was a bright sunny day in the city of Tokyo. The city's streets and crosswalks were vivacious. In the middle of the dense metropolis of all sorts of wild going-ons was a giant celebration. A celebration of the life of Japan's #1 hero, All Might. The building dedicated to Japan's #1's life and career, the All Might Museum, was just finishing its opening ceremony. No one was more excited to be at its grand opening than two boys known as Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. They both stood by their mothers as the opening ceremonies came to a close, and someone by the name of Toshinori Yagi cut the ribbon with a giant pair of golden scissors. The man was skinny and slouching, in a suit that was clearly several sizes too big for his rickety skeletal frame.
Kachan! We're here! We're actually here!
A boy 10 years old, with dark, messy, fluffy black and green highlighted hair, bounced excitedly, holding onto his mother's hand. Next to him, in the contrary, not holding his mother's hand, was a spiky, blonde-haired child with deep crimson eyes.
Shut the fuck!
The boy known as Kachan had just received a hard smack upside his head.
Watch it, you all!
The boy then had the taste slapped out of his mouth by his mother. Despite looking younger than she should be, and the direct gender bend of the one she smacked, the boy just murmured a response after receiving his comeuppance, which Izuku and Blonde's mother accepted. The two pairs of mothers and sons were among the first to enter the brand new museum, due to the connection the Blondes had through her designing firm. Katsuki's mother and Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya, had been friends since their days in primary school. But as much as they wanted their own children to become friends, it was becoming painfully apparent that this would never be the case. However, despite this, they would die trying.
Hey, Mitsuki! They even have a food court and bar!
Inko Midoriya used to be the voice of reason between the two best friends. Or at least she used to be. Inko married young, straight out of high school. In fact, and to her high school sweetheart, Hizashi. For some reason, however, he chose to take his lovely bride's family name. For many years after that, they were happy. Until 5 years before. It was then, to her horror, her husband, the man she loved so dearly, came home battered and bruised. As he laid in her arms, a young 4-year-old Izuku had awoken to the sounds of something coming from the entrance of their family home downstairs. A few days later, Hizashi Midoriya was laid to rest at the place of his birth in Kyoto, Japan. No one knew the actual reason behind his death, and Inko Midoriya seemed haunted by the experience. Back in the museum, Inko seemed to snap out of her reverie.
Come on, give our boys time to explore on their own.
Mitsuki looked at her best friend with a raised brow.
We're literally in the safest place in town. Not only is this place dedicated to the symbol of peace, but was constructed by the Uraraka group.
Since burying her husband, Inko had changed. She now tended to lean more towards a heathenistic lifestyle. Mitsuki didn't know what to make of her best friend's sudden and abrupt 180. What Mitsuki knew was that despite her best friend's child being quirkless, she indeed cared for her son greatly. It was why she gave her the extra tickets. However, to say that she loved him was a stretch. For like most, she viewed him as a liability to both her social status and, well, pretty much everything else. Inko knew her son would have a hard life and surrendered to the fact that he would most likely end up like most quirkless children, tossed aside in an early grave, though she opted not to get too attached to her offspring, even after her son came home with all sorts of bruises and the smell of smoke on his clothes.
You have to get stronger, Izuku.
This was her go-to every time she attempted to comfort her son. She knew the source of her son's torment, but chose to stand idly by. And somewhere in the small recesses of her mind, she hoped that they would put an end to her boy's fast impending life.
Yes, Mom, I will.
Was what Izuku would always reply with, and was currently saying as he was now sprawled onto the floor, once again by the hands of his tormentor, Katsuki Bakugo.
Why in the fuck are you even here with your worthless, quirkless Deku ass?
Katsuki was the very definition of a bully, was irredeemable in the eyes of most, including the author. Fuck Bakugo. And he indeed was.
You're worse than a Deku. You're a quirkless. Do us all a favor and soar dive over the roof of the building next door, away from a true hero All Might.
It was at that very moment that the world decided to give Izuku a much-needed win.
I am here! A true hero isn't a bully, despite someone being quirkless or not. They aid them with the same dignity and respect as everyone else.
All Might had spotted the two boys, what the blonde did to the brunette.
If anything, you're the one who defiles this place, you little shit.
The boy looked at his idol with tears in his eyes.
I'm not a goddamn villain!
Actions speak louder than words. Damn the foolishness coming out of your mouth right now, young lad.
All Might was not holding his tongue. Years of experience taught him this would be the only way to reach the troubled child.
I'm stronger than you, more experienced with my quirk than you. Should I lay you out on the floor just as you did your, victim over there? Should I simply clap my hands and splatter you on the wall?
The blonde boy looked in horror as he followed All Might's arm and hand to the wall behind Izuku. The child now shook with fear as tears streamed down from his eyes, and he saw All Might point at the wall just beyond Izuku.
I'm stronger, and I'll be stronger than you. That'll replace you as number one.
Bakugo proclaimed, much to sarcastic laughter at All Might.
Only the strongest.
Ha ha ha!
With a slight clap from All Might's hands, a gust of wind silenced the boy, but did not splatter him on the wall.
You fail to realize the point of being a hero, which breaks my heart, young lad.
All Might rose to the arrival of Mitsuki and Inko. His heroic tone was now a stoic one.
To be the number one is more than just strength, ability, and publicity. Being the number one means humility and grace, being strong enough to be gentle, quirk or quirkless. It matters not to the number one hero. All life is precious, even down to the kitten stuck in a tree.
Fuck you, All Might. I hate you.
The boy didn't truly mean what he said as he ran out of the building, his mother following suit. However, not before All Might caused her to pause as he pointed at Izuku laying on the floor, beaten and bruised.
It's my most sincerest hope that children are a reflection of their parents, Mrs. Bakugo.
He only knew her name because he heard the brunette calling out the bully's surname after telling him to stop attacking.
Expect a visit from Tokyo's Child Protective Services later this week.
Mitsuki's eyes widened as she ran after her hellspawn. Home then turned his back to the brunette and his mother, now tending to him.
You have to get stronger, Izuku.
Inko said in hushed tones to her weeping child.
This world will only eat you alive if you don't get stronger.
Inko then went silent as All Might approached them.
I will, Mother. I'll become much stronger.
All Might looked at them both, as Izuku stood up, wiping his tears and snot from his bloody nose. Then, gathering up his courage, All Might gave the boy his best smile as the child asked,
If I become stronger, could I become a hero too?
Panic struck All Might as he swallowed hard, struggling to keep his poker face smiling. Then, much to the hero's salvation, a loud explosion rang from the bank across the street.
Get stronger, my boy, I've gotta go!
The response was panic given, as he shot out of the museum like a rocket. But little over an hour before, a massive man who could only be described as a black skull-masked luchador entered the bank. The luchador towered over many of the patrons in the establishment, watching them as if they were some type of predatory animal.
Saludos, señoras y señores. Allow me to, introduce myself.
As the massive man spoke, his underlings began to slither in seemingly everywhere, each and every one of them sporting the same luchador attire.
I am Bane. And bueno, do as I say or well, los mato a todos.
The luchador, now known as Bane, continued to speak in his grandiose manner, drawing all eyes onto him. The patrons tilted their collective heads as they tried to decipher what this unit of a man was saying. But then his men lifted his firearms into the air.
Hands up! This is a robbery!
It was then that it finally clicked with everyone in the bank. Bane shook his head, though he was polite. His men were quite the opposite. They brought out duffel bags, throwing them at the tellers, commanding them to fill them up. Bane then broke a customer island in front of him with his forearm. Papers, pens, and stand pieces shot out and then decorated the bank's marble floor. Finally, after a few screams, he cracked his knuckles, their echoes filling the room.
Hombre, no te mortifiques. I'm just trying to prove a point. No más.
A guard then rushed him.
Oye, güey, este pendejo que se cree. ¿No me está viendo? Canto normal, ven acá!
Bane then grabbed the guard, slapping his gun away before leaping in front of him. The massive man in a black luchador outfit and skull mask then began to spin the man's neck and upper body before ending in a hurricanrana leg throw. Bane had ensured he would survive the throw, holding his true strength back to the last possible minute. The guard was now actively dazed when Bane strutted up to him, kicking out the man's feet and setting him into the air.
I am Bane!
He then caught him.
And I will break you!
The man seemed to stop as Bane seemed to be in slow motion to the people around him. The massive luchador fractured the poor guard's femur and obliterated their collarbone. Before the guard could even let out a scream, the patrons began to cry at the snap of vertebrae, causing many to faint at the sight. Bane had broken the guard's back and folded him like paper over his right knee. An alarm was then triggered as Bane's men planted explosives on the massive vault. The highly volatile C4 charges were enough to level the building, but the men had managed to roll into a long rope. This gave more controlled explosion, and with that done, the men left behind some cover and hit the trigger.
Ahora sí. Bienvenidos, pinche puercos!
Bane smirked as he pulled out an M1918 bar from his duffel bag and unloaded it, effectively removing the bank's entryway.
Ay, qué bonito. The classics never die.
It was then that he arrived.
Well, ¿qué tal, señor All Might? I am here!
All Might had arrived right in front of Bane, snatching the weapon from his hands and tossing it aside. Bane smirked, unaffected by the sudden disarming. It was nothing more than a fun toy for him. He moved to engage All Might, but the hero jumped back a few meters from him.
Pues claro que sí, pendejo. I can see you. Allow me to send you somewhere else, hero.
Bane cracked his knuckles again as he slowly walked and engaged All Might.
Soon you too will be screaming my name!
I don't care for your name, villain!
Detroit!
Bane looked at him as he was genuinely an idiot.
Smash!
Bane simply dodged a sloppy haymaker, gritting his teeth as he felt the wind from his move. The villain had then countered with a blow to All Might's left side. The number one hero gasped as blood shot out of his mouth upon impact. This caused Bane to raise a brow at the sudden action.
Gay, don't tell me that little tickle put you out.
All Might grit his teeth.
That wasn't even my full strength, hombre. It's the best your country can offer.
All Might then countered with his own blow to Bane's right side, and the villain began to laugh.
Coño! God damn, that hurt!
With another blow, Bane once again dodged, was followed up with more laughter. Bane blocked the next hit and twisted All Might's arm up and around, leading All Might to the hard ground below. All Might then popped up back into his feet, only for Bane to catch him, then German suplex him 1, 2, 3, straight into Suplex City, for launching him through the wall out of the bank and onto the street.
Dígame, wey! Say my name, puta!
Bane slowly walked down the steps that led towards the bank behind him.
I will break you!
All Might was beating hard, harder than usual, with that opening blow to his left side that struck his injury.
Shit! He's got me on the ropes. That first blow ate up most of my time. I can see it quickly reaching zero.
All Might looked up, blood seeping through his smiling, gritting teeth. Bane just looked down at him, completely unimpressed.
Say it! Ándale ahora!
Bane shouted at him, challenging him.
Pinche baboso, you are nothing! I may not know your native tongue, but let me show you something, villain!
All Might's eyes began to glow brightly as he gathered the power of his quirk.
Something that I learned long ago!
Now this excited Bane. As energy began to charge in All Might's right hand, this clown was finally taking him seriously. Bane rushed head-on towards the blow, challenging its strength, power, and dominance. He felt the thrill of their continued battle. He wanted this man to make him use more of the source of his power.
This is what it means to go beyond!
Bane could feel the power. It made his mouth water and go rabid.
I will put you down, villain! Plus!
All Might led him with a feint, causing him to dodge and change their positions.
Ultra! Detroit! Smash!
The move connected, sending Bane flying with laughter into the All Might Museum. Patrons began to flee as mothers quickly gathered their children while the building began to shake. Then finally, Bane struck a wall, coming to an abrupt stop. The entire second floor's railing and rafters then falling upon him, burying him underneath. At the same time, Inko Midoriya was frantically searching for her child. All she cared about is the boy's safety. She then spotted him, frightened and shaking like some green-furred chihuahua.
Izuku! Be strong for Mama!
The boy heard his mother shout, just as the roof collapsed.
Mama!
Izuku shouted over and over as he ran to get her. The child's foot fell through the floor just as he reached his mother's last position. Dust and rubble along with a rafter had pinned Izuku to the ground. Miraculously, nothing was broken. But he could barely breathe, much less move or speak. Above them, All Might was working frantically to save as many people as he could. The hero was working like a man possessed as he struggled to get all that remained out of the building from the wake of his battle. The hero then removed only some debris, only to find a cold, dead corpse of Inko Midoriya. He clenched his chest as he thought of a young boy. The boy! Japan's number one hero started clearing debris, calling out for him, only to hear no response.
Down here. All Might. Down here.
Izuku called out to him, but his voice barely registered above a whisper. Izuku watched his hero frantically search for him, but alas, All Might never looked down to the collapsed floor below. As the hours tickled down, painfully, like years, All Might released a heavy sigh, Izuku continuing to cry out for his hero, long after All Might had given up and left the scene. He had to catch Bane, and he would pay for this destruction.
I wasn't strong enough. I'm never gonna be strong enough.
Izuku's voice had long given out, leaving him only with his thoughts.
I wasn't strong enough to get Mom. I wasn't strong enough to face Katsuki.
The thought of his so-called childhood friend caused his mind to scream and cry out, but no one was coming for him, because he was just not strong enough. Suddenly, a rumble was felt around the pinned boy. The villain roared as he burst from captivity.
I still live, pendejo!
The triumphant Bane then heard a slight cough, and then paused his celebration. Honing in and moving towards the sound, he saw him.
Oyes, niño, ¿qué pasó?
As if it wasn't plainly and painfully obvious, he then kicked the rafter mockingly as he stared at the boy trapped underneath.
You did this!
Bane had leaned in to hear Izuku's strained voice.
Pues claro que sí, pero... niño...
Bane then gently leaned his boot and rafters, causing Izuku to gasp before releasing it.
I wasn't the only one, chico. That pinchy All Might was to blame as well.
Izuku cursed at him. He could not bring the words to his lips. Only one phrase came out.
I need to get stronger.
Bane just looked at the boy perplexed as the child's words continued.
For Mama.
Though immobile, temporarily underneath the rubble, he heard a death scream not too far from his location, followed by Izuku calling out to her.
Hey, I hate to tell you this, mijo, but... your mother? She's dead.
Bane then noticed something as Izuku shook his head, not believing him.
Un momento, por favor, niño.
Bane then leapt to the surface. Though he had not moved the bodies yet, he spotted his target and grabbed the woman with green hair that he believed was the boy's mother. He then hopped back down to him.
This is the only way you're gonna learn, mijo.
Bane was unapologetic as he tossed Ingo's dead corpse on the downed boy. Izuku could only silently scream as he stared into the dead eyes of his mother, all the while saying,
I need to get stronger. I need to get stronger. I need to get stronger. I need to get stronger.
like some sort of prayer or chant.
Perdón, mijo, this is the only way.
Bane looked on as finally Izuku's face went blank. The time had come.
Your pinche coño of a hero. All Might could have launched me skyward and avoided your pobre mother's death. Pero no! Instead I get launched in here, and now your mother's dead. Como un clavo a doornail.
I have to get stronger,
was all Izuku could say in response to Bane.
Bueno, I could get you out of there, pero what would that get you?
Izuku kept up his response to him.
Si quieres, well, why not use your, como se dice, tu quirk?
Izuku kept his response, but then shook his head no.
Ah, you're in shock, but I see your response.
Bane then pulled out a vial filled with green liquid greener than Izuku's own hair.
It tastes like mezcal, but it'll get you there.
Bane then knelt down close to Izuku and spoke softly, yet sinisterly.
It's highly addictive. This is venom. It'll give you strength, como, what did you say? That will go beyond. Prosulta la madre.
Bane then grabbed the greenette's hair and pulled him back, pouring the venom down Izuku's gullet. Venom was the source of Bane's power, this complex chemical cocktail of God only knows what. Izuku's eyes flashed open, glowing a bright emerald. His muscles began to grow as a silent scream filled the boy's mind. Bane just laughed maniacally as the boy threw him and the rafter off himself. Ahora sí! Izuku lunged at Bane, who was now tanking all of the boy's strikes and kicks. Izuku was like a wild animal. Yes, mijo, let it out! Become stronger! Izuku continued to attack Bane with an unquenchable rage that blinded him. Nevertheless, Bane allowed the cocktail to run its course within Izuku, until the luchador noticed the venom now acting and becoming more and more volatile. Yeah! Bane laid him out with just one punch. Bien, también. This is good. Get stronger, mijo. I want to see what you become. Izuku awoke 20 minutes later to a case with a note from Bane. He put them away as the paramedics found him. It was okay, but now he had a taste of it. The taste of venom. When he got to the police station, he opened the letter. Mijo, here are 6 vials of venom, along with the recipe to make more. Don't disappoint me, niño. Being stronger means being disciplined in mind, ¿entiendes? I have given you the tools. Use them to return me a worthy opponent. You can do anything you set your mind and corazón, your heart to. Even a hero como the Bat in America. Bueno, hasta luego y que Dios te bendiga, amigo. Bane. And that's our video for now. Drop a comment about your favorite series or any suggestions. Thanks to our team for another amazing video. If you're interested in joining our team and you're 16 years or older, feel free to check out the links in the description. Thank you all for watching till the end of this video, and have a fantastic day, folks. See ya!
Dale tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para darle alegría y cosa buena. Dale tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, Macarena. Dale tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para darle alegría y cosa buena. Dale tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, Macarena.